Hello, welcome. Sam of Sambookery here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to assemble my Wild Meadow Sketchbook. This is a printable available for purchase on my website for immediate download. I'll put a link in the description. This is a little mini journal. You can do it as a standalone project or as an addition to a larger junk journal. And I've called it a sketchbook because I've included some sketched natural elements from my Wild Meadow collection, but I've also provided you different styles of blank pages. So if you want to do sketches in here, there are blanks. There's a dot grid for more like bullet journaling. There's a grid to help you with proportions if you're wanting to do some sketches or drawings. And there are line pages as well in case you want to use this as a writing journal. But I thought this would also make a great coloring book. It doesn't have to be. I think it looks fine the way it is. But if you wanted to grab some colored pencils or some watercolors and just add a little bit of color to these images, I think that would make them really look beautiful. And it's such a fun, relaxing thing to do. So let me grab my supplies and let's get started. First, you want to print out your pages. The cover and the cover lining, you'll want to print on a heavier cardstock. I'm using 65-pound cardstock for mine. So let me show you, this is the cover. And these are just journaling cards and ephemera. And this is the cover lining. And these will be pockets you can add inside here. And then here are the journal pages. These you can print on regular copy paper. I printed mine on 32-pound copy paper because I like a bit heavier weight, but use whatever you have. Everything in the kit you just can print single-sided unless you want to assemble it a little bit differently than I'm going to show you. And if you do, I did provide two different backing papers if you want to print double-sided. One is plain and one has a grid on it. Let's go through the pages. We've got two journal pages on each sheet of paper, and we will be gluing them back to back. Here's this one. These all just have different like nature scenes from my meadow collection, my Wild Meadow. Flowers and animals and trees. It's got a butterfly. So those are the sketchbook pages. And then to give you more options, I've got several other types of pages here. We've got a page with just grids, and that's good for sketching or anything where you need to like measure something out. We've got the dotted pages you can use for like bullet journaling, lined pages you can use for writing, and then blank pages for doing sketches or lists or drawing, or as a swatch page to swatch out the colors you're using. So I wanted to provide enough things so you guys have a lot of options, and you can customize the journal, the sketchbook, to be exactly what you want. So you go ahead and print out everything that you want to use, and then we will get started with the assembly. You only need a few simple supplies to complete this project. A pair of scissors for cutting out the pages, a bone folder, and an adhesive. I like to use art glitter glue, but you can use the tape or glue that you like. Optional items, and that's the basics. We've got a few optional items. If you want to round the corners of the pages, you can use a corner rounder. I like to use this one. It's got a small, medium, and large option on it. Another good one I like is this crocodile. And then we need to bind the journal together. So you can simply use a stapler to bind it together if you'd like. My favorite method is a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, and for that I need some thread and a needle and an awl to poke the holes. And then I like to use just 2 large paper clips to hold my pages together when I'm binding it, but you could use any kind of clip to do that. And then I normally just like using scissors to cut things out, but when I'm cutting out multiple pages that are the same size, I do get out my Fisker's rotary trimmer. It's got a round rotary blade on here that self-sharpens, and it cuts through several layers of paper at once, so I can put like all 5 papers on here to trim out everything at once, so it's much quicker and more accurate. But again, just a bonus, not necessary at all. But if you find you are making a lot of journals and need to do a lot of cutting, this one is a really good heavy-duty option. So gather your supplies and let's get started. Okay, I have everything cut out and I'm going to get started on the cover. So let me move all these pages out of the way. And I've got just some wax paper. This is just like a paper palette for painting, just to do my gluing on because I need to protect my cutting mat. So we've got these pockets here. There's the cover and this is the lining, so it will be on the inside. So I want to add the pockets onto the inside of the lining and then we'll glue that to the cover. We've got these two pieces of ephemera here, these journaling cards. I don't like to have white anywhere in my journals, so one option you could do is just glue them back to back if you're wanting to avoid the white as well. But then you've only got one piece of ephemera. So I've got this extra background piece I printed out, so I'm just going to glue these onto here and then we will cut around them so that I have something nice. It's still blank for journaling on, but it's not white. I try to avoid pure white. And that's just a personal preference. There's nothing wrong with it, but that's just the way I have to be. So if you're like me, here's a way to get a nice backing onto these cards. You could also just, use your ink and just rub ink all over the back, which I have done that many times as well. But since I had this sheet printed out, I'll just use it. So we'll just glue those down and then trim them out. And I didn't mention this in the supply video, but if you like to ink your edges, I will show you that step as well. I do normally ink my edges, and especially if things don't line up exactly right, or if you have a little trouble trimming out and there's a little bit of like the white showing through, that's really a nice saver. It helps finish off your project. It makes it look more professional. So I will pull out my ink here in a minute and show you that. So here we've got these guys now, and now they have a nice vintagey backing to them. And let's see, I think I'll go ahead and round the corners on these as well. I'm just going to use the small setting since this is like a mini sized project. So there's rounded, not rounded. I think it just looks cuter. Ooh, it's a little hard punching through the double thickness here. There we go. And so that's at the point where now I would ink, because I won't be doing any more to this. So I like to use Distress Oxide in Vintage Photo. And I just lightly go around the edge to cover up the white and just kind of darken it at the corners. And I usually will do both sides because I want both sides to look vintage, not just the front. I finished inking the cards, and I also inked around the edges of the pockets, and we're going to glue those on now. So I just add the art glitter glue around 3 sides. And I don't want to get too close to this corner because I think I will round that corner as well. So I'll come up a little bit. And we'll do the other pocket. Now we can glue the cover to the cover lining. I just want to double check that they match up pretty closely. Looks good. So you can use whatever glue you like. I did try with glue stick and art glitter glue, but I really just like using the art glitter glue just on the edges. So just glue around the outside. Just line up one corner and the next corner, and then the other two should already be lined up. And then I let that dry before I do anything else. I will ink the edge, or if you've got, like I do, a tiny bit of white showing on one side, we can trim that off. But I'll let the glue dry before we do that. So let's set that aside. And now the pages, you can decide how you want to do it. If you want to do how they are printed out on the sheet of paper, you can just put those two back to back. And when we fold them, then you'll have, you know, the image and the image. If you want to incorporate places for drawing or for, let's see, we've got lines for writing, then you may want to back an image with one of these other pages. So when you flip through the journal, say you want to have grid pages alternating with the images. Put them together like this. So you have image and then grid, image, grid. And I would end with images in the middle. I would probably end like this so that my center spread had images. And that way you've got a variety in here. I am just going to put it together with just the images for mine, but I just wanted to show you something to think about if you want to just be creative and put it together a little differently. So let's just grab two images. I don't think those are the two. I don't remember which ones are on which page together, and you can mix it up. It doesn't really matter. And just do the same for these. If you want to use a glue stick, you can use like these Yoo-hoo glue sticks are really good, and just glue stick the whole thing and put them together. Glue sticks and me, they don't get along, and it's too messy for me. And then just make sure I can see through this that this is the right way. You don't want to glue them together upside down. So I just hit two corners and then just let it fall, and the other two will automatically be lined up. This is a good project if you don't like doing double-side printing, or you're just trying to save ink, because it's just print them out once and glue them together. And the other thing I like about this, if you want to use this as a coloring book, you want to color in the images a little bit. If you want to use something that kind of bleeds through, like alcohol markers or even like some watercolors will show through, work on them while the pages are separate. Wait for them to dry and then glue them together. So even though it bled through here, you really won't be seeing it through on this side. But this sketchbook, I think, looks finished and cute enough just to be used as is in a junk journal. It would be fun to tuck in a pocket in like the larger Wild Meadow journal. But I love coloring, and so I designed this as kind of a mixture of several different ideas. I wanted there to look like there's like an old field journal that someone had taken out and like sketched different things. And that, you know, we've got an old copy of that tucked into the journal. But I also wanted to be able to do some coloring or some drawing in my journal as well, but not directly on the main big journal in case I didn't like what I did. So I'm just going to assemble this one this way, but throughout the month while I'm working on my big Wild Meadow journal, I will put together a few with these pages because I want to do like some sketches as well. And I think it's handy to have like these two together, and you can use this as a reference photo and the grid to help you get your proportions right, and you can sketch out one of these images in here. I think it would be a fun way to practice drawing and to have your reference images already there, like and on the theme of the journal. Ooh, that one didn't line up. Oh, let's try again. Sorry, I'm not leaning over because I don't want to block the shot, but then I can't see my corners. Let me try to line up these bottom corners. Okay, there we go. You do not have much time with the art glitter glue. It dries almost immediately. You've got like 3 seconds. So I like it because then I can keep working. I don't have to wait for things to dry, but if you mess up, boy, you're tearing your paper because it bonds the paper together and it tears the fibers when you take them apart. All right, let's do these two. So okay, so I've got all my pages glued together. I'll let the pages finish drying here for a minute, and we will work on the cover. So I do want to round the corners. I think I will try to use this small corner rounder punch. Ooh, it's really thick. It doesn't want to go. There we go. Yeah, it's double thickness of cardstock, so it's having a little trouble getting through. That's why the crocodile is a really good choice too. All right, and then if you have any white showing, just trim it off. And on this side, ooh, it kind of mangled the corner. Okay, so just tiny little bits off, and then we'll ink it. And that will fix anything else. Right now we just need to fold it in half. I did design the cover to be bigger than the pages, right? So there's a little bit of a gap here and here, as well as when we fold them, there'll be a gap. So when you nest your pages together, they'll hopefully still be within the cover. So I just gently start folding it over because this is double layers of cardstock. It's pretty thick. So I don't want to stress out the paper too much. Get the ends lined up. Gently press it down. And before I crease, I just look on the inside to make sure it hasn't buckled or wrinkled on the inside. It looks really good in there. And let's double check the back. Yeah. Everything looks lined up. So now I'll go ahead and press in the creases. There we go. Stick these little cards in the pockets. there's our cover. Let's do that to the pages. So I do have a tiny bit of white here. I think I'm just going to ink, because I don't really want to trim all the pages. I'd rather just do it this way. Let's see. Oh, I do. Oh, yes. I do want to trim. I do want to round the corners because I like the way this looks. It just seems like more old and worn if the like corners are rounded. Like it's been around for a while. And so I will do that. That's totally optional. All right. And now we'll just ink that. It really only needs ink where the white is because we do have this really dark brown that borders the pages with the images on them. So that looks good. So who do we want out? Let's see. Turtle, tree. I'll start with tree. There we go. So when we put this in, you should see that there is space all the way around. So it'll fit inside the cover. I don't think, I mean, we'll try it. Also, I'm using really thick paper. I'm using like a super thick 32-pound copy paper. If you use like normal 20 or 24, it won't be as thick. But I think you can fit at least 5 pages nested in here before they start peeking out beyond the edge of the cover. So we will test that. And I did leave, there is that brown border all the way around. So you can trim down the edges of the ones in the center of the signature if they are sticking out beyond the edge of the journal. You can trim them down and not lose any of the image. Oh, I forgot. We need to do the corners, don't we? So I'll go back and hit up the corners. Looks good. Okay, so we'll fold this one. So you do want to think about how the order of your signatures. Like I don't want to open tree to tree. So I think I'll do this one this direction. So now we've got a tree and then a bird with some flowers and then the house in the meadow and then the tree. So, and then we can play around with the order at the end, but you want to kind of fold them in the direction you want them. Let me clear this away. All right, so now we've got this little bird in this flower. To me, it looks like a carnation, but I don't think that's what it was supposed to be. So I'll finish inking and rounding the corners on these and getting them folded, and then I will come back and we will bind the journal together. So I've got all my pages finished here. They're folded and the corners rounded and inked, and I put them in the order that I like. I ended up picking this one with the sunflower for the center. Sunflowers are my favorite. And we're just gonna see if they fit in the cover. And I think that's pretty good. You don't see any of the pages sticking out beyond the cover. So I've used, with my 32-pound paper, which is super heavy, I'm able to get 5 pages in here. Double-sided. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you use paper that's a little bit thinner, you might be able to get a few more, but just know that you at least could get the 5 that are printed with the images in here. So let's line this up. Kind of centering it between the top and the bottom of the cover. And then I'll put my clips on. just to hold everything in place. Okay. And then to do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, you just poke 3 holes. I start with the middle. You're welcome to get a ruler and measure this. I just eyeball it because I think it'll look fine. And we're just going to poke a hole through with our awl until it comes out this side. And then for the top and bottom holes, I usually try to go down about 1 inch. Well, this is a very small journal, so maybe like 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch down from the top. And however far I come down from the top, that's how far I go up from the bottom. So we've got that hole. So let's say about right here. Okay, we've got our 3 holes here. We'll take 1, 2, 3 times the height of the journal with some thread. You can, I've got some waxed thread here. If you have waxed linen, that is, you know, normal bookbinding option, but you can just use embroidery floss or crochet thread, whatever you have. And just grab a needle with an eye that's big enough for your thread to go through. Doesn't even need to be a sharp needle since we've already put the holes in. And then you have one decision. Do you want the strings to end on the outside of the journal so that you can tie on some charms or some beads? Or do you want them to end on the inside so they'll just be hidden? Since this is a sketchbook, it's more utilitarian and I do want to stick it inside of a larger journal, I am going to leave my strings on the inside. So I will start from the inside and go out the middle hole. You want to leave a tail so that we can tie a knot. Just maybe 5 inches long. Go in the top hole. Skip the middle hole and go out the bottom hole. Now we've just got from here to here. And now we need to go back in this middle hole. And we want to come up on the opposite side of this middle string from this tail here. I came up on the same side, so I just back my needle out, you guys can see, and I pull the thread up a little, and now I come up on the opposite side. And that way we can tie a knot around this center string. Take your needle off, and you can take your clips off at this point. Now we want to just give a little bit of pull to the strings to make sure everything is nice and tight. And then we just tie a knot. And then one more knot. And there you go. And I will just trim these off so they don't hang out. And I'll usually split them and have one go up and one down. And that's it. We have made a tiny little sketchbook. This is the Wild Meadow Sketchbook. So let's do a little flip through. We've got a pocket with a little piece of ephemera, like a journaling card. Here are our pages. I love how it looks like an old torn piece of paper. Like maybe you found an old sketchbook and tore out the pages and like glued them down to this dark background or something. So I think it looks super cute as is. You could totally just tuck this into a larger journal on a nature theme. But what I'm excited to do is to do some coloring or some drawing. I might even see if the watercolors will work in here. I'd love to know what you guys do with your sketchbooks. Let me know in the comments or shoot me a chat or an email on the website and let me know. But I hope you had fun making this little mini Wild Meadow sketchbook. And I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.